And action.
Hello, welcome to this special edition of In My Crumble Opinion. We're trying a lot of new different things out. So this is actually an idea that we stole from Florida Man. Florida Man has a new podcast idea, or it's like Florida Mansplaining. Is that whose idea was that? Was that Florida or somebody else's idea?
Sounds right.
Okay, well, you stole it from Florida Man. So it's Florida Man explaining things to experts on on a subject matter that they know about. I don't know, but that's actually not what's happening tonight. Today, I'm gonna ask you about Traitors, which I know nothing about, but it's of the zeitgeist. So first of all, I'm Phoebe Cakes. Right now, yeah, it says
Good job.
Phoebe.
You did it.
Yeah, Robert, check. I did it. Yeah, Celeste is always telling me, like, please introduce yourself when you do things. I'm like, yes.
I like that I've gotten into your brain too, because now you say this on every podcast when you don't introduce yourself. you know, you've like learned. So I feel like I've taught you well.
Yeah, I don't need an inner critic. I just need an outer Mama Celeste to make sure I do what I'm supposed to. So why don't you introduce yourself to the viewers?
Hi, I'm Mama Celeste. I am just some nobody who throws a drag festival here in Oakland called Oaklash. And I think the segment is like Hyperfixation Nation or like something like that. Like just like I love that my reputation is that I'm like a reality TV junkie because these are the things that I want to talk about all the time.
Yeah, so that's a really good point. Hyperfixation, like I am definitely. This is a new thing that we're just trying to commodify as many of our hyperfixations as we can. Right now, I'm like in my Oscar era, which is kind of annoying because I hate the Oscars as like an institution and an idea.
But you love it.
But I love competition and I love film. So
maybe that's part of it. Like I don't.
And social commentary, yeah.
I'm ready. What's your question? What am I explaining to you today?
Okay, well, you are a reality TV competition fan connoisseur. I know you as like you're really into Big Brother and
Celebrity Big Brother
and Survivor, Celebrity Big Brother and Survivor.
It's specifically Celebrity Big Brother UK and regular Survivor.
Just run us through the different genres of reality TV. I like competition-based shows like Project Runway and American Idol with a little bit of human interest, but also like a craft aspect. These are not those shows, right? What attracts you to the Survivor genre? And what is the Survivor genre?
So like 90s TV, like I guess like it comes from like real world era, like that kind of like just watching people do whatever. Well, even further back than that, like there was like this documentary on PBS that I think like technically was like the first ever like reality TV where they just followed like the average day in an American family. And that was in like the 60s or 70s, I think. And so like that was like they were kind of the first reality TV family of just like watching a day in the life. And then that turned into like Real World, which was like not real life, which is like this like sort of fake scenario where you put all these people into like one house or whatever and see how they live. And then
it's always the Truman Show.
And then the Truman Show is after that. And it's always been like, yeah, like kind of this storytelling about just like what like how Americans act. I think like it's a very American thing, or I don't know if it started in America, but it very much becomes a commentary about like American society. So Survivor and Big Brother, for example, like the year 2000 both came out around the same exact time, and we're both like kind of doing similar but different formats. Big Brother's like you get second, it's basically Big Brother's like Real World but with rules.
Okay.
And then Survivor was like an island with no rules. But Survivor through the years, like we're now on like 45 seasons or something ridiculous of Survivor. And it's just gotten better is the crazy thing, because 45 years later, like rules have developed and like people know how to get far in the game. They like strategically, but also like the producers have added in like twists and turns and like idols and things that like have created like some sort of strategy. But it's not like they're going in and telling you these things. All that you know is that like one person has to go at the end of every episode until no one is left. And so that's like the basis of this whole genre is like reality TV competitions. So that's like where it turns into like it's not really a competition, it's like a social strategy game more than anything else. And what you're watching, Jeff Probst says this a lot, is like Survivor is just like a microcosm of the world. Like these are like 10 people in an isolated scenario, and what they're doing is they're like enacting how people live in the real world, and things come out like racism and sexism and like social structures. There's been seasons of Survivor where like people use like religion as a way to like form small groups like within, and those become like the prominent like people who win the games because they make it to the end because they've like formed these like religious like sort of mini cults. So like little things like that where like it seems like a fake thing, but then like that is how the world works, and this is like a way that people have used like things like religion or race or sex to like change the world and who gets power in the world.
When you watch, are you concurrently like intellectualizing it the way you're doing it now, or is there a different?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Okay.
I think what's interesting is like moment to moment, no, like in the course of a single episode, no, but like these themes arise and like it's really clear. So this, if we're talking about Traitors
Yeah.
is basically just a game of Mafia, like the game where like everyone sits in a circle and there's one person who's like the narrator, and everyone closes their eyes and the narrator like goes around and taps two people on the shoulders, and those are like the mafia. And then the mafia's job is to not get caught while like individually killing off people while they have their eyes closed. So the Traitors is just that, except it's with former reality TV contestants and also, well, like these like social strategy game contestants, and then also they throw in housewives because it's just makes good for TV. And so what emerges from that is these clicks. It becomes like Team Bravo versus like Team Gamers was this season. Like people who like
And
do
this
this
is
for a
the second
living.
season or the first season?
This was the second season. The first season was celebrities with regular people, which kind of worked. And like the person who won was from Survivor, and they were really able to like manipulate a group of like normal people into being like, this is what I do, baby. Like Sari Fields from Survivor was basically like, she's just like this like lovely, motherly, caring person. And so these people gravitated towards her, and she was able to just be like, no, actually, like I'm a gamer. Like this is what I do. Like I've played Survivor 4 times before. Like I came here to win this. Um, and so like the separation of like game versus like personal motives, like ethics, whatever, like was really prominent in that first season. And then instead of having real people, if you have real housewives who are doing that, they get so freaking pissed that it just makes for such good TV. Um, uh, but all these other things come up. It's like uh, the person who targeted Peppermint was the same person who targeted Phaedra as a traitor, who like targeted MJ at the end as like a person that they wanted to get out. Like all these people of color, and it was like very clear that like Shell was like kind of racist, and so like that is how people like utilize their power in the world and like are able to like cast suspicion on people. So it's definitely silly, but it's also very real.
Yeah. Do you typically find that the terrible person wins the game, or can you play virtuously and succeed?
No, they're all games of lying and deception. The Traitors especially, like, and even for a faithful to win the pot at the end of the Traitors, you have to deceive people along the way, because you have to like basically gain the trust of the Traitors to think that you're like on their team, or you have to not tell other people that like who you're voting with. So like no, there's no way to not be a traitor even if you're playing. That was the other whole thing that happened this season on Traitors was Peter from The Bachelor. Pilot Pete was this like super virtuous, and he was like, we're gonna get like all the traitors out, And you know what happens if you get all the traitors out right away? Is you're splitting less money with more people. So you actually want to like stay towards the end. Like he did not understand what game he was on because you can't just like be virtuous the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
And people just got him out because he was fucking annoying, not because he like sent like a traitor or anything. He just needed to go because these people wanted to win money. Like they're there to win money.
Yeah. So I'm coming at this completely ignorant, but what I'm noticing is like what made for good TV this time is like maybe because it's like the survivor genre plus like the housewives genre. What would you call that genre of reality television? Would that be closer to real world kind of reality
Mm,
television,
yeah, probably just like people living their lives
like
like in their natural
Kardashians?
habitats. Yeah, I think the Kardashians probably have a lot to do with that genre.
Yeah. That I feel like that genre probably was a facet or an outcome of the writers' strike of the 2000 early aughts or mid
Yeah.
early aughts. So, where do you think we are with reality television today? Like, what are people interested in, and why are they interested in these kinds?
So what's interesting about like Survivor is because this is where I say I like Celebrity Big Brother UK, which is just watching a bunch of like famous people in a house who are getting voted off by the public versus I like watching real people play Survivor because Survivor is something that you're sitting there being like, I could do that. You know, like there's like an illusion that like you sitting at home like could live off of rice and beans and like you wouldn't act as irrationally as these people do, but like you don't
Mhm.
actually fucking know. And then the Traitors now is like I have no like you don't sit there having any illusion that like you would have to get on Bravo to get on the thing to get on this show. And so I think maybe we're past the point where like people need that illusion in like
Mhm.
I think I'm also like a Masked Singer stan. Um, I watched the first 8 seasons of that and then I had to stop because I think it was doing bad things to me mentally in the sense that like it's literally has nothing to do with singing. It's a gladiator show for war criminals. It's like it is the closest thing that we have to yeah to like the Colosseum in Rome is we
Yeah.
like stick Rudy Giuliani, who's like a literal war criminal, in a furry suit, and you like make him dance for your attention while Nicole Scherzinger is like crying. Like it's dystopian,
Yeah.
and I think that's where we're at. We're fully in. We've passed the reality so far that like we're in full reality TV dystopia.
Yeah. That's frightening, but you have
It's
a big
frightening.
smile on your face.
I love it.
It's fun.
It's camp.
All right. Why don't you give us a rundown of what happened on the Traitors this season, and then like why it's striking such a chord with people? Like I think you've said it, and multiple people have said it's like the best season of reality television. And then people are disappointed about the end. What happened at the end?
This
Or we could talk
racist
about Kate
bullshit.
Middleton. Okay, yeah.
We'll get there. The other problem with Traders is that it's like it starts with like 26 or 20 something people and they're getting eliminated so fast. There's 2 people that get eliminated every day. So it's a really, really, really fast game. So there's like 22 celebrities. Let's just imagine half of them were like non-competitive reality TV people, and the other half were like Real Housewives and The Bachelor and things like that. I guess
Mhm.
The Bachelor is a competition, but in like a weird pseudo romantic way. The broad brush strokes is that there's like uh, 3 people who are nominated as 2 people who are nominated as traitors. There's Dan, who's like known as one of the best Big Brother players of all time, and Phaedra, who is from the Real Housewives of Atlanta. But Phaedra's also like a lawyer and incredible at getting herself out of shit.
Mhm.
They their first task is recruiting a third person who they pick Parvati, who is a newly queer or out queer like icon from Survivor. She's dating Mae Martin, the comedian. Um, and so they're just like slowly picking people off. Dan is like kind of not giving up any names. Like there's a lot of social strategy that happens in the house where you're supposed to um, like who do you think is a traitor? Who do you think is a traitor? And he's just like not doing that. Like he's kind of holding his cards close to his chest. And then they're like, Dan, that's super suspicious. If you're going to keep doing this, like, we're going to think you're a traitor. And so the first person that he names is Phaedra. Like, he totally throws her under the bus, which is like on Big Brother, how he played. Dan is known for like this big move where he like staged his own funeral in Big Brother and like basically like killed himself off of the show, but then like ultimately won. I don't know. I don't watch US Big Brother, but I've done a lot of this research. But he makes these big moves. So this is the thing that he's known for. But what he did is by naming Phaedra, everyone's like, by naming Phaedra, and then they still voted him out as a traitor because he was being hella suspicious. They were like, of course the traitor's going to name a traitor. And also Parvati was really close with him and was like his closest ally. Parvati is known for playing this like flirty, like her and Pete from The Bachelor were kind of like, you know, winking at each other the whole time, but we're like secretly enemies. Parvati's strategy is that she finds whoever she thinks is the biggest gamer and kind of like rides that dragon towards the end. Like that's how she's played Survivor too, is like find the person who people think is the smartest person, and then like you just become best friends with that person by being like the hot girl. And then that's what she did with Dan, and people knew that's how she played. So she was also suspicious at that point. And so when Dan left, he like basically tore both of these women down with him. Like it was over. It was done. Like Dan ruined it for the traitors. So Dan goes, Parvati's next. Only Phaedra is left. Phaedra is then, because they can't end the show. If that was this show, there would be 3 episodes and then they would be done.
Yeah.
So they need to extend this out. So Phaedra's tasked with bringing in another traitor, and she brings in Kate from Below Deck, who is also on season 1. And Kate, I never watched Below Deck, or I think I watched like a few episodes in the motel once, but Kate is like the most reluctant traitor of all. Like she hates it. From the second that she gets picked, she's like, fuck, like I don't want to do this. It's so fucking funny. She's fucking hilarious. She's apparently getting groomed to replace Andy Cohen. She's so fucking funny. And Kate is the only one left because Phaedra's name has been on the block. So they're kind of keeping Phaedra because they know that she's a traitor and they're going to keep her as long as she can. Kate makes it to the final 4 and just gives up. She gave up. She like knew. Yeah, she made it to the final 4. I think she kind of felt bad. And again, she really didn't like being a traitor. So there's a moment where they all stand around the fire. And if you think that everyone there is a faithful, you can like throw a green thing into the fire. Or if you think that there's a traitor in your group, you throw a red thing into the fire. And Kate basically was like, I'm done. I'm a traitor, take the money, like whatever. I think she's also probably like independently wealthy.
Yeah.
And so at that point you think it's done. And then there's this moment that happens where these 3 people who are left, who had like very much turned, or like were ready to turn on Kate, obviously. 2 of them, CT and Trishelle, who were both from, I think they're both from the real world, and also like did like multiple seasons of The Challenge, which is like a very sports heavy version of this. Like it's like really just about the challenges in the game, and that's how you win, is just being like really athletically strong. And the 2 of them are hella tight. And so they turn on MJ, who's from Shaws of Sunset. So she's this like brown woman. And it's like, okay, so you all pretended like the whole time like you were going to be faithfuls, and you were like really cared about who the faithfuls were, but like you really just wanted to split the money, like the 2 of you. So like again, even the traitors or even the faithfuls like have to be traitors at the end, because otherwise you're only getting like $50,000 each, which is like 25,000 after taxes. It's like, no, you want $100,000 at the end of this. Like you need like something substantial to like leave with. And they're both gamers, and so that this is the reunion, and this is why I think this season was so good, was because like what Real Housewives do is reunions. Like the gamers were there for the game, and the Real Housewives were there for the reunion episode. And so MJ's pissed. Like of course she's pissed, and like can't separate the fact that like this is a game from anything else. Can't separate the fact that she's like married to a mobster and has like independent family wealth. She's just like, you fucked me over. Like she's fucking enraged. And it's just great. I think that's like the magic that they found, was that like when the people, because this is always it. There's always like the first season of Survivor, the winner, his name was Richard Hatch, and there's this like iconic
He's
like
gay, right, Richard?
gay Richard. He's
Gay
also a
Richard.
nudist. There's this monologue that this person did at the final tribal council who was like, you're a rat. No, he said, no, she says, you're a snake. You're a snake. You're a fucking snake. But you know what? That's how nature works. And the snake eats the rat. And so she like pointed out this other girl and she was like, you're a rat. And that's been how this game has played. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, he played the game. He played it right. Like, you have to be kind of evil. You have to kind of piss people off. And like, that's just how these games are played. Like, it's always that. It's always the snake and it's always the rat. And that's always who ends up in the finals. Or there's a goat, which can also be like a person that you string along to the end just so you can like slaughter them at the end. Snake, rat, goat is like the final moment of every one of these reality TVs. And so I would say like Kate was the rat, MJ was the goat, and like CT and Trishelle were playing their own fucking snake game with just each other. And so people go to like the normal reality, like a normal Survivor reunion isn't that entertaining. Like usually you're there to like watch them take a shower or whatever. Like you're just like curious what they look like if they've shaved or whatever. They're never very good. But this one was like fucking fantastic television because so like they were like these gamers who didn't care, who were just like there to play a fun game. And then there's the reality housewives who like took it just everything to heart. Every single moment was taken to heart.
Yeah.
So that's what I think the magic of the season was and why the gays live for it on Twitter so hard.
Okay, we have a few more minutes, a couple more questions. Is there a moral to the story? What's the silver lining you can walk away from this season of television?
The silver lining is we are living in dystopia and and you just have to accept it. No, the reality, I don't know. Yeah, I would say like the underlying themes of like Trishelle being fucking racist. Peppermint at the finale, Peppermint from Drag Race was one of the early competitors. I think she was the first one voted out by the group, and Trishelle was the one who led that charge. And so it's like very she gave this whole like very eloquent speech at the end about how like people come into these things with biases, and like you looked around that group of people and like Peppermint looked different than everybody else, and therefore she was the first to go, or like the first that the group was ready to get rid of. And that's just like how these games work, unfortunately. Like it's a microcosm of the world. That like again, like watching the show, you're just like, oh, Trishelle's a fucking bitch, and then at the end of it, you're like, holy shit, like this is how power structures work. Like this is real shit.
Last question. You are, as I've mentioned, kind of an expert, very eloquent and invested in a way. Do you feel like you can coach someone to victory? And if you could, what would be your school of thought for excelling in a game like this?
This is where like if I had any illusion of ever getting on Traitors, I wouldn't say this out loud because I'm still convinced like at some point I'm going to be on reality TV and like
I believe it. I see that for you.
Win. JP Lore, your friend JP, hosted a Big Brother thing at his house for his birthday once, and I easily won. It was like a 6-hour like immersive Big Brother thing. There was like cameras like around his house. It was like very like insanely organized the way that like JP's brain works. But no, I'm fully convinced I could win any of these shows. The problem with the Traitors this season, not a problem. I actually think it was great. Another thing that worked really well was that nobody knew what they were doing. Like clearly none of these people had like watched season 1. I think some of them had like, if like the gamers had like talked to other people who had been on the show, like kind of got a sense of it, but no one understood that like, I think there's 2 ways to win this, to win Traitors. One, if you're a traitor, take out all the other traitors. You want to be the only traitor left because the show's going to keep giving you people. Like the producers can't just have one traitor because then the show would just be over. So they're going to keep feeding you people and you can keep using those people as decoys. So if you're the only traitor and you're like the traitor of traitors, you're going to make it to the end and you're going to keep getting these people out. So people are just going to think that you're like this like master sleuth the whole time. If you're a faithful, the way you win is you like bottom for a traitor. You figure out who that traitor is and you like ride that to the end. Sandra talked about Sandra from Survivor. She's the only person who's won Survivor. Oh, that's not true anymore. She's one of 2 people who have won Survivor twice. But she's the queen. She's also kind of transphobic. She's like, or friends with this gay guy who outed this trans person on Survivor, and that's weird, but whatever, fuck her. She didn't win. But she was the only person who understood the game, which was like, she knew Phaedra was a traitor. And she, when people started accusing her of being a traitor, because she is kind of sus, she's like, kind of like, you know, quiet and like plays a really low game, but is super fucking strategic and smart. She said, like, Phaedra was my traitor angel. Like, the only reason I'm still here today is because like this traitor, who I knew was a traitor the whole fucking time, like was protecting me. So that's how you got to play. Except you have to play that, and you have to make that traitor think that you think that they're faithful. And then once you get to the end, you're like, Jake, just kidding, bitch. Like, I fucking knew it. Like, I got you. And then like cut their throat at the end. So that's how you play.
Well, now I feel like I know everything I need to know.
I definitely think you're not gonna go watch this after this, but
I
there
will watch the reunion. That actually sounds up my alley. I want to see that. Can I watch the reunion and still enjoy it?
I think it was such a good episode of television that yes, you would still, and because you'll have the recaps like within it, like you'll get the whole context, and you'll see like just like you'll be missing some like nuances, obviously, but like yeah, I think that this whole season like really culminated in like a perfect reunion episode.
Well, that's all the time we have for today. Thank you, Celeste, for
Hyperfixation Nation.
I know. Yeah, this was fun. I'm glad Angel forced us to do this, and she actually couldn't hear any of it because I'm wearing these headphones. So I feel bad as like she's just watching me laugh along to your recap. Yeah, she'll listen to it when she edits this together for us. Bye.
Bye.